All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Lightworker Academy class today. We're talking about emotional alchemy. For those of you who might be new to this work, I'm Michelle Hawk. I'm a shaman, I'm an alchemist, and I'm a spiritual mentor who supports lightworkers like yourself on your path of continued unfolding and initiation into not only the rites of passage of the world, but into your own personal medicine. Today, we're talking about emotional alchemy, and this teaching comes directly from some of the work that I do with my alchemy students. So I know some of you will be tuning in to my alchemy students. I know some of you are tuning in later, and so know that there's going to be a lot that you'll see that you'll recognize from our course material if you were with me last year. And then for those of you who are this year's students, know that we're going to take this even further when we get to this in our actual course. But in the context of our work today, these Lightworker Academy classes are a series of 12 totally free classes that I'm doing throughout the course of this year, 2019, that are taken from the I Am Lightworker Healership training. Now, this is coming up in October, and since you're tuning in live, I want to give you just kind of a special, put this on your calendar. If you're interested, if this is something that appeals to you, the dates are October 10 through 13. And this is live in person. The actual training is live in person, and it'll be just outside of Portland. So if you're either in the Portland area and you want to come, or you're not in the Portland area and you want to arrange your travel plans, mark your calendars and start putting this in your mind, because it's coming up. And know that live healership training is for light workers, for healers, for people who are coming into the expression of their intuitive gifts. And everything that we're doing in this 12-part class series is little snippets of that curriculum. So it's 4 days, super intensive, all day doing this work. And everything that we're doing in this course series is based in shamanic and alchemical philosophy and advanced healing principles. So you're getting kind of a little sneak preview of this 4-day live training. We're doing little bits and pieces of it. And then in the live training, of course, there's going to be more. There's going to be practice. There's going to be working with people. There's going to be doing, embodiment exercises and a lot of that. But you're getting the online version, which is great. And all of these trainings, I invite you to consider that they are related but independent. And so knowing that as we continue to engage with these, and if you've been tuning into multiple ones of these, you're probably noticing, okay, I'm noticing a trend here. We're going in a certain direction. We're continuing and building and layering upon these bodies of knowledge. And for those of you who, I know Stacy was on last month, so you saw the wisdom of the body. I know some of you probably tuned into the body wisdom class after the fact, knowing that today we're going to be building upon some of those principles in some of these exercises. So I really do invite you, if you haven't listened to that class, go ahead and circle back. They're all up in the Lightworker portal. If you're not in Lightworker portal or you don't know what that is, go ahead and either type it in the chat box or shoot me a message I wanted to Lightworker portal. It's the free online community that I created just for you. So if you're not in there, go ahead and request your invitation, because it has the archives of all the class recordings in there, as well as all my podcast episodes. I've got almost 90 podcast episodes in there and a lot of other good stuff. So we're building people, we're doing the thing, we're training ourselves, we're receiving the support that we need to be the light workers that we are. So thank you for being here. I see you, and I'm so, so happy that you're here. So today, we're going to go ahead and just set everything aside for right now. Go ahead and set aside your notebook, pens. I'll do the same. We're going to do a little meditation to start us off. And let's allow ourselves to make any postural adjustments that we need in order to be really comfortable. So whether it's kind of just wiggling around a little bit, whether it's moving in your seat, whether you want to just go lay down for a minute, whatever you need to put yourself in a space that will allow you to soften your awareness. And when you're ready, go ahead and close your eyes. And let's go ahead and do a couple of shoulder rolls, because I don't know about y'all, but my shoulders have been a little demanding lately. So we're going to take the shoulders and roll them forward, and then up by the ears, and back, And then down behind us, like you're tucking your shoulder blades into your back pockets. And let's go ahead and do this again. We're going to roll our shoulders forward, up by the ears, back behind us, but still high, and then down. And as we exhale them down, just feeling the adjustments that take place in the rest of your spine. And how can making a little adjustment in one part of your body impact the posture and impact the relaxation in the rest of your body? And let's go ahead and take a couple of deep breaths together, exhaling everything out. Deep breath in. And exhale with a sigh. Again, deep breath in, inviting ourselves to fully arrive in the body with the breath. And exhale with a sigh. Deep breath into the belly. And exhaling with a sigh. One more deep breath into the belly, all the way down. And exhaling with a sigh. Feeling yourself drop even further into a space of relaxation and soft awareness. And as you tune into the natural rhythm of your breath, allowing it to flow in and out, begin to follow the waves of your breath deeper inside your body. And as you follow the waves of your breath inside your body, we're beginning to invite sensation awareness. That's it. We're not trying to change anything or fix anything. We're just noticing what sensations in your body are asking for your attention. And as you notice these sensations, just go ahead and give them a nod of acknowledgement. I see you. Thank you for letting me know you're there. And noticing any of the ones that are really asking for your attention, any particularly demanding body sensation, whether it's tension or pain or prickling or heat or cool or numbness, even a sensation, whatever it is that's asking for your attention. Just go ahead and be with that sensation for a moment. And then when it feels appropriate, go ahead and release awareness of that sensation and then ask for the next sensation that would like your attention to come to your awareness. And same thing, when that one arises to your sensation, just go ahead and be with it for a moment. Notice it. And when it feels appropriate, go ahead and give it a nod of acknowledgement and let it fade away. And now we'll come to a space of just presence, simple presence within our bodies. And go ahead and place your hands somewhere on your body, maybe on your heart, or heart and belly, or your legs, wherever you like. And just offer a simple wave of gratitude for your body, for showing you what's happening in your internal awareness. What's happening in your body? What's happening in your energy field? Let's just go ahead and give a nod of acknowledgement. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. And a deep bow of gratitude to yourself for taking the time and space for this practice today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Then we're going to bring all of this information back with us to our conscious awareness. So coming back to present time attention, wiggling your fingers and toes, slowly maybe rolling the shoulders a little bit, and when you're ready, open your eyes and coming back. And if you like, go ahead and take a moment to make a couple of notes about any sensations that came to your attention. And we're going to revisit this practice later with some new information. So know that we are going to be building upon that. And Tish, I see you request your invitation. I'll go ahead and actually I can just post that in there right now. Everyone gonna take notes for a minute? You want to journal for just a minute and I'll post that? Okay, great. Awesome. I'm gonna mute myself. I'll be right back. Okay, there you go. If you're not already in Lightworker portal, you can use that link that I posted right there and join. It's free. It's easy. Okay. Would anyone like to share anything that they got out of that practice? Anything in particular show up as noteworthy?
I didn't notice as much in my body, but my head was racing a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Great noticing. Awesome. Thank you. Did anyone else have that experience? Or has anyone ever had that experience where we're trying to tune into the body and it's just like the brain is going? Yeah, totally. That's a thing for sure. Great noticing. Okay. Any other noticings to share? Edie says yes. Okay, I'm guessing yes to what Stacy shared. Awesome. Okay. Beautiful. Well, and this is a totally normal thing. And this is something that as we tune into the different layers of our awareness, we get more practiced at how can I turn up the body awareness, turn down the mind awareness, or when we need to be in the mind, how can I be really present there? So this is totally a thing. And we're going to continue with this practice, the same practice that we did. We're going to revisit again at the end of our class with some different information and see how we have a different access point. So awesome, thank you. I do want to share one other note that before we get into our actual class material, that all of you who are attending live, please do stick around. And this is something that that I was sharing before we started the recording actually, but for those of you, I know a couple of you just jumped on after we started the recording, so please know that there are a couple of little shifts in how I'm engaging with the people who are attending here live. So since you're attending live, and I want this to be extra juicy, extra worth your time, I will be offering a giveaway and a bonus at the end of our time here today. So please do stick around till the end, where I will be randomly selecting somebody with my random number generator to receive a free session from me. And all of you for being present here will receive a bonus gift that will make everything, that'll give you a little more context in how we relate to emotion. Sonia, I know you've seen this already because we've talked about this, but yeah, the Emotional Alchemy table, which, yeah, double thumbs up, right? It's that good. Okay, yeah, and all of you, since you're here, you get a copy of that. You're welcome. You're gonna love it, I promise. Okay, so as we're getting into emotion, let's kind of take a little look at what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be talking about the foundations of emotion. So what is, oh, and Edie says blissful, loving state felt. Awesome, that was your body sensation awareness. Great, thank you for sharing. So what is emotion? How do we relate to emotion? And what is it like to have a healthy relationship with our emotions, right? Because I know that we've all been in this space of like, oh my God, everything is anger, right? Or whatever it is. And it just seems to sort of take over us, or we feel almost at the mercy of our emotions at some times, until we know better, until we know how to work with them in a really compassionate, empowered way. So we're going to be talking about, what is emotion? How do we deal with it rather than being at the mercy of it? And why is that really important? What does that give us? And then we're actually going to do some stuff with that. I'm going to give you a couple of practices. Again, like this is a little snippet of the course material, both for the I Am Alchemy work and then a little piece of the I Am Lightworker. So knowing that you are going to walk away with a couple of really awesome practices. And then since you are here live, you're even going to get the Emotional Alchemy table so that you can look at some of the stuff that we're talking about today. And we're going to do an exercise with that. I'm going to give you an invitation to consider something. Again, if you want to go further with this, I'll go ahead and take the last couple of minutes to invite you into a possibility of what that might look like if you want to go deeper, and then a giveaway. So yay, stick around to the end. So what is emotion? What relationship do we have to emotion? Go ahead, and if anyone just wants to like unmute themselves or type it in the chat box, what is our current or past, or like what are we societally taught about emotion? Anyone want to shout out?
Show them.
Show them. Okay.
Don't show your emotions.
Don't show them, right? Don't show them, right? We're taught, okay, emotion is, a sign of weakness, perhaps, right? It may be like, shut it down. Stacy says, positive emotion good, negative emotion bad. Totally, right? Like we're taught, all the happy emotions, but don't feel bad. Like that's bad if you're angry, or that's bad if you're upset or sad. Edie says, emotion can be the story about the feeling. Can you say a little more about that? The story about the feeling. Or unmute yourself and share. What else are we taught about emotions?
So the story about the feeling, often when we feel anger, I find going present and being with the anger so that it's honored and allowed to fade. There's a story that can be built on it, which makes it into a monster versus an honoring aspect.
Right. Totally. We can blow up the emotion. I love that you shared that, Edie. Thank you. Right. We can create this extra supercharged monster. I love that you said that. A monster of emotion that has a lot of story behind it that we then feed into, that then kind of snowballs on itself and becomes even more powerful and ass kicking. Right. So what about women are emotional, right? And that's a sign of instability, right? Or non-rationality, right? Like we're looking at emotion kind of juxtaposed to logic, right? Thinking versus feeling. What else are we taught about emotion? Or do we know about emotion? Does emotion, let's see, does it help us or hurt us, or does it depend?
I was going to say that it needs to be controlled. So maybe it helps us if we can control it.
Okay. Great. That's another awesome thing that we're taught about emotion, right? That we need to control it. And if we can control it, then we can maybe not be showing it. Who knows, right? So we have all these stories about emotion. And this is something that, I remember as a kiddo, just like, people, and this one, and I know he probably wouldn't mind me sharing this, but my dad, right? Like my dad is, he's a very like logic oriented person. He's an incredibly intelligent person. He's also very empathic in his own way. And yet for me, when I was a little one growing up and I would get really emotional, he didn't know how to handle that. And so he would say, Michelle, stop being so sensitive, or you're taking it all personally, which would then of course like explode the whole thing and move from like a me having an emotional experience into total freak out zone, right? Because I didn't know how to have a healthy relationship with that. And he didn't know how to have a healthy relationship with that. And now, he still has his own way of not really relating to that, but I have a much more solid container. So then in contexts where there's some emotion coming up in a conversation with my dad, I know how to move it through and it's fine. But we aren't taught this for the most part unless we either seek it out or, we figure it out through our own process, or, somebody comes along, some angel of a teacher or a book or something comes along and gives us tools to work with this and helps us feel empowered in our relationship with emotion. So that's something that we're going to be doing today, of looking at what are emotions, right? Emotions are not the story. Edie, I love that you brought that up. They're not the story. Emotions are not the reality of what's happening. They might feel like the reality of like, oh my God, all I feel is sadness. Like, I am sad. Even the words that we use to relate to emotion, right? I am sad. I am angry, instead of I feel sad. I feel angry. And that's one thing. If you want to jot that down, I would invite you to start relating or start using that word instead of like claiming it as the self. Like, I am sad. I feel sad, right? Because then that gives us just a little more space from it even, right? It's not us. The emotion is not us. The emotion is not the reality. It's a piece of information, right? And yet we think of emotions as the reality of the situation, but instead they're indicators, right? Emotions, I like to think of them and explain this to people, like they're like little flags, right? They're like our energy body or our heart waving a flag at us with a message on it. And most of the time we mistake the flag for the reality of the situation, right? And when we're in anger, when we're in grief, like we get wrapped up in the emotion and we're missing, well, what is actually happening? I'm having an emotional response because something feels out of alignment, right? And throughout this particular class, we'll be talking primarily about the quote negative emotions, because these are the ones that we have a lot of charge wrapped up in. And yet the same applies to positive emotion, right? Like when we're having a joyful experience or we're having a blissful experience, it's not about the joy and the bliss. It's about how is it aligning with our bodies, with our frequencies, right? And the joy and the bliss and the happiness and the love, all of that is there as a little flag to tell us like, this feels really good. Does that make sense? The difference between the indicator versus the reality. So we can think of emotions as indicators, signals, information about the circumstance, right? It's not the reality of the circumstance. It's a piece of information. And again, if that little flag metaphor is helpful to you, like imagine, I almost imagined it as like a little cartoon character of my energy body, like waving a flag, like this is messed up. Like, let's work on this thing. If I'm feeling really angry, like something is wrong, and so then it's like, okay, anger, thank you for giving me that information. So now that I can look at the actual situation and take appropriate action. Which is exactly the way that when we're relating to emotion in an empowered, healthy way, that's what we do. That's how that goes. So emotions are unique energy frequencies that exist on a spectrum of energy. There is no good or bad. I love that. Stacey, you brought that up. Like positive emotions are good and negative emotions are bad, right? There is no such thing. There is no, just like on any spectrum of energy, like yin, yang, right? Masculine, feminine energy, there is no good or bad. There is simply a different frequency, or like a light frequency, right? Like the color spectrum. So on one end, we have the very high vibration emotions like joy. And on the other hand, we have very low vibration emotions like grief, right? And we have everything in between, right? Anger is kind of somewhere like over here, and these different frequencies. And so it's a feedback mechanism. So when we look at emotions on the spectrum, it's a feedback mechanism for like, right now I'm vibrating at this frequency of joy. That's awesome. My body feels great. My heart feels great. My energy body feels great. Really cool. Okay. Right now, I'm vibrating at the frequency of grief. Ooh, something feels really crunchy. Like I am not grief, but my body, my heart, my experience is vibrating at this frequency. Okay, that doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means that right now, this is my vibrational reality. Okay, that's not really super comfortable. What actions do I need to take in order to change the reality of my experience and vibrate at a different frequency? Like moving my frequency up the spectrum. Okay. So again, no good nor bad. We're not anger shaming. We're not grief shaming. Like there's none of that here. There's just like, okay, how can I love that? How can I bring that in? And how can I say, thank you, teacher. Thank you, messenger. Thank you, little flag of grief, for waving at me and telling me that, giving me a specific message so that I can take empowered action in my experience to change where I'm at on this spectrum of energy. Thank you. Okay, so each emotion has its own associated message and teaching. This is part of what you're going to be getting in your bonus, is this chart to look at, well, what is that associated message and teaching, right? But when we're waving, like, let's think for a moment, and everybody just kind of like brainstorm about a time when you felt angry, right? And we have consistent we have a consistent experience of anger, right? Like go ahead and type in or unmute yourself of like, what is the body sensation like of anger? Any temperature or vibration or muscle experience? Stacy, what do you notice?
For me, it's like eruption. So it's like action. It wants to go to action.
Yeah. Okay. Action, right? Eruption. Ah, okay. A little bit of this movement. Okay. What else? What else do we notice with anger? Sonia says physically agitated and adrenaline. Awesome. Good noticing. Okay. Edie says hot, tight, sound, and action. Okay. Tish says being lied to. I seriously feel my blood run cold. Okay. So feeling a temperature sensation, right? And there's a lot of action orientation around anger. And so part of the message of anger, I'll just share this with you. One of the messages, when we have the anger flag waving, the message is a boundary has been crossed, right? How does that land for you to know, like every time you feel angry, your energy body is waving a flag at you and saying, a boundary has been crossed? Edie says, yes. Okay. Do we like that? Does that feel like, oh, fuck yeah, when I feel angry, that's exactly what that feels like? Yeah? Okay. And so looking at what physical sensation do we have to support us in that? People feel hot. People feel action. People feel like explosion, eruption, right? Let's see. Edie says hot, tight, sound, action, right? Like rah, rectify the boundary, protect, right? So our physiological response that is induced by anger is designed to support us in taking the action to change the reality. Does that make sense? Yeah. So if we're having this message of there has been a boundary crossed, and we're having the physical sensation that will give us adrenaline, right? There's adrenaline release when we're angry. Like we feel hot, we feel agitated. It's like, I got to move around. I got to stop my feet, right? In order to support us in having the energy to rectify the boundary, to assert protection. How's that land for you? Let's open up for any questions or comments right now. Either unmute yourself or type in. What do we feel about that? Making sense, like giving clarity to our experience, or like, I'm not sure. Where are we at on that? Sonia says, it makes a lot of sense, but feels a little fudgy for parenting. Totally hear you. Okay. Stacy says, I want to experiment with it, but tend to agree. Cool. Sonia, can you elaborate a little bit? Feels a little fudgy for parenting.
Yeah. Like I recognize it as still being a boundary thing, yeah. I think, but sometimes kids can make you mad when
yeah,
nothing, like your expectations are way off and they didn't really do anything and you're just like tired or whatever. So it's
totally,
it can be not about, it's not really about a boundary in a, I don't like using this word in like a valid kind of way, but it's not a boundary that, like there's something else going on, like you just are tired.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure, absolutely. And in that case, you know, we are already heightened, you know, and in that case, you know, it might be a very, like, our subconscious is operating this, right? So if we're already triggered, or if we're already exhausted, or we're at wit's end, like any, you know, even unintentional encroachment of that boundary can be like, I don't have the reserves for that. It's like, bah!
yeah.
You know? And so in that way, yes, it's not necessarily a rational response, and it's not necessarily an appropriate response, but we're just looking at, well, how does emotion show up in order? And in that case, like, that can indicate to us, like, okay, I'm getting mad at my kiddo because there was, you know, a miscommunication, or like they didn't do anything wrong, but I had an expectation that I didn't share with them. What is that telling me? Okay, it's telling me that my boundaries have been crossed. Maybe I crossed my own boundaries. And like, I'm getting mad because I'm not sleeping well, or I haven't eaten all day, right? And that can be totally part of this internal feedback mechanism. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, and I think that's important to remember, like, emotion is not rational. It's not necessarily, you know, we can have emotion pop up that doesn't make cognitive sense to us. And it's not a cognitive thing. It's an energy body thing. So even if,
I think I crossed my own boundary, like, just locks it in. That's
great. Okay, glad that lands for you. Cool. Okay. Emily says, "Yeppers, I've definitely screamed out loud at my 1-year-old." Yeah. Okay. Right. And oh my God. Yes. I'm not a parent to a human, but I have definitely, like, lost it a little bit on my animal children for no fault of their own, other than being like a little bit extra annoying when I was already strung out. Okay. Stacy says, "Shifts me to curiosity on the boundary." Yeah, cool. Love that. Great, everybody. Okay, let's go ahead and continue on to look at what does a healthy relationship to emotion look like, right? If we're going to move from, okay, unhealthy, and an unhealthy relation, let's give some context on, like, what is that like, okay? So when we have an unhealthy relationship to emotion, you know, kind of the first layer of this is what I call, like, suppression or stuffing down, right? Like Tish was saying, okay, so we're not letting ourselves feel it, don't feel it. Okay, so the people who don't do that, they're the suppressors or stuffers, right? Of like, oh, not going to feel that thing, squash and like tuck it in the back pocket. And then what usually happens? It kind of builds and builds and amplifies and then just explodes out later. Or it doesn't do that and it stays in the body and manifests as disease, right? Because when we stick emotions in the body, the physical structures move around them. And if we're holding that vibration, imagine, again, that spectrum of energy, if we're holding the vibration of grief or anger in our bodies and we're not letting it out, that vibration is stuck in our bodies. We have hidden trapped emotions, is one of my teachers likes to call them. She's calls them hidden trapped emotions that then manifest as physical symptoms in the body. You know, and we can see this in, and, you know, looking at Chinese medicine has all these organ correspondences. So anger, for example, is associated with the liver, right? And do we know angry people who have liver disease, right? Is there some sort of correlation with that? Or, you know, grief in the lungs. And if we're, you know, processing a lot of grief through the body, is it landing in the lungs? Is there anything that that we can look at in terms of physiological correspondences? So suppression and stuffing is kind of the first layer of there you go. I just muted you, CJ, for audio quality, but you're all good. You can unmute yourself for questions. And then the second layer of unhealthy relationship to emotion is what I call, like, the overexpression or the wallowing, right? So where we're letting ourselves feel it, but we're not moving beyond just simply feeling it. We're wallowing in it. We're hanging out there. We're like rolling around in it and glorifying, like, oh my God, I'm having the like most angry experience. Ha! You know, and it's this level of engagement with it that is, you know, at least we're acknowledging it, but we're not moving beyond that. And then we have the, never take, maybe we'll like relate to the emotion and we'll feel the emotion, but we'll never take action to move and actually change the circumstance. Right? So these are all kind of the where we get stuck, or the unhealthy ways of relating to emotion. Okay? Or maybe we feel the emotion and we acknowledge the message behind it and we take action, but we never release it from our body. Right? So we have these kind of 4 points, and we're going to go through this from the exercise. So you'll see what I mean on these different 4 points. So our healthy relationship to emotion is acknowledging that, we can feel it, first of all, and we're not stuck there, right? And emotion is not the reality of the circumstance, as we know. It's an indicator. It's not this is the only thing that's happening. And it's possible also to have an addiction to emotion, right? Like, okay, addicted to the vibration, right? That comes with. And this can be addiction to positive, or addiction to or actually a high vibration frequency or a low vibration frequency. There's a lot of cases and that we can look at, either people who grow up in challenged family situations, or at-risk youth situations, or abusive relationships, right? We have this we're encoded to this frequency, this low vibration frequency of emotion, that then becomes our familiar zone. It becomes our safety zone that sets our emotional programming until we rewrite our emotional programming, right? But otherwise, that can just keep going for the rest of our lives. So if we have an experience growing up of having, for example, an angry parent, right? Then we tend to seek out people who have that frequency because that feels familiar. Or maybe we embody that frequency in ourselves. And all of this, again, none of this is good or bad. It's just like, okay, well, what relationship do we have to the spectrum of emotion and the different frequencies? And also knowing, okay, do I have attachment to these high vibration emotions? Am I chasing bliss? This one term I think is so funny, bliss ninny, right? Like, anyone ever heard that term of these? And I'm sure you can imagine what I mean, but these very, usually hippie or spiritual new agey people who are just in the like, yeah, it's all good, man. Like this perma bliss thing, and like won't even indulge in anger or angry or these other feelings, right? Because they're in this like chasing the bliss state. And that's not healthy either, right? Like, we want to have a relationship of non-attachment to the emotional experience. And it's a very, there's a lot of this in like Zen philosophy, in to a certain extent in Taoist philosophy, of looking at how can we have this really like total non-attachment relationship to an emotional experience. Right? Like, okay, I'm letting joy move through me. But again, same with the fun emotions, right? That's not the reality of the circumstance. So if we become attached to the emotional experience, it's a layer that's getting in the way between us and being engaged in the reality. And if we're holding on to it, then we're perpetuating an inherently transient feeling. Does that make sense? Around addiction to emotion, both from the positive and the negative. And so, and emotional resilience, this is one thing that I really like to talk about, and it comes up a lot with my clients and my students, is how can we cultivate resilience? Meaning, how can we expand our field so that we can feel emotions without getting knocked over by them, right? So imagine if my capacity to feel emotion is this big, and something happens, like my kiddo spills a glass of water on the floor, I'm going to freak out because this is my capacity for emotion, right? As opposed to, okay, if I cultivate my emotional resilience now, okay, this is my capacity for emotion. All right, my kiddo spills a glass of water on the floor. Okay, let's clean that up. Here's a towel. Like, you know how to do this. Okay. And then my dog like tears something up. All right, well, we'll replace that. That's okay. And like, that's not healthy behavior. And so it's like, we're increasing our capacity to have that vibration in our field without being triggered by it or without having a response to it. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So the more we're relating to emotion as a teacher, as a transient thing, right? Like emotion isn't here to stay. It's here to wave a flag at us and then leave, right? Ideally, we imagine if someone's trying to give you a message, and actually this is a really good thought exercise here. So imagine you have someone who's coming to tell you something important, okay? And they want to tell you, let's go with the anger example, a boundary has been crossed. So you have someone who like comes up and very politely introduces themselves like, excuse me, I'm here to give you a message that a boundary has been crossed, and you don't pay attention to them. And they're like, okay, well, hello. Like they start talking a little louder. I'm here to tell you that a boundary has been crossed. And again, you're still not paying attention, or you're not getting the message. Finally, they're tapping you on the shoulder. A boundary has been crossed. You're not paying attention, or you're not acting on it. They slap you in the face like, listen, this is the nature of emotion, right? Where it keeps getting louder and louder and louder and louder until we recognize it for what it is, we let it move through our field, and we move on. This is the other piece. Like emotion doesn't need to stick around. It's here to wave a flag at us. It's here to give us a message and then leave when we act on the message, right? So like in this case, if we were to turn to that person right away who said like, here, I'm here to tell you that a boundary's been crossed, and say like, oh, thank you. I'm going to act on that right now. I really appreciate you letting me know. They're going to leave right away, right? And that's the relationship that we want to have with emotion. That's a healthy way of engaging with emotion, is listen, acknowledge, take action, and then let it go, right? This is what it's like to cultivate emotional resilience is, okay, how can I allow anger to move through me without kicking my butt? How can I allow myself to just wash through this feeling of grief without having it take me out? How can I be frustrated and just let it move through and let myself experience this and not let it ruin my day? And I'll share with you just a really brief story that happened yesterday. This is like super fresh in my mind. I got back into town at almost midnight last night, which was not the plan. After being gone for almost a week, but I was 2 cars back from getting on the ferry at Orcas Island. And, we got to the ferry 2 hours early. We got there at 10:30. It was a 12:30 ferry. We got there like theoretically in plenty of time. And it was a Monday, right? Like no one expects it to be that busy on a Monday, but it was, for whatever reason, it was super busy. And he was about to let the car in front and my car on, and then he stopped us and then let other cars on, and then the boat left. And my partner is having total what the fuck experience. And I'm like, have a moment of frustration. I'm like, that's really annoying because the next ferry isn't until 5:30. Okay. All right. I'm going to let myself be frustrated for a moment. Like what we did didn't work. I feel annoyed. That means I'm going to be here for, instead of 2 hours, 7 hours. Okay. How can I just be present with this experience? And then I ended up just having a super chill day, right? Like it was, there's nice weather, and like there was a grassy spot, and I got to read my book and got to like walk around and like make friends with other people who were stranded on the island. Like it was totally fine. But instead of letting that frustration kick my butt as I might have done a few years ago, I let it move through. I let myself just have a minute of feeling frustrated, and then sitting with the reality of my circumstance, which was, I'm here. I can't do anything about this. How can I then have a different relationship to what's happening? Does that make sense? Of like, either you let it ruin your day, or you kind of like let it move through, and then you're like, all right, I'm moving on. Okay. Wouldn't it be nice if everybody knew how to do that? Let's just like imagine everybody in the world being able to do that, and ourselves also being able to do that consistently, right? Like this is a practice, this is the work for sure. Before we do some practice, because we're going to do an exercise with this, are there any questions or comments about this? Any thoughts? How's this feel? Pretty good. Okay. Sonia says, for me, it's about letting it move all the way through. Totally hear you. Emily says, good. Okay, great. Edie says, yes, we are in choice and it is a doozy of a practice. Right? Like, this is why we do the work. This is so that we can have a more successful, a more effective human experience on Earth, right? Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of steps that we're going to then do as a practice. So if you want to just go ahead and kind of jot these down, then you can have this, and so that then we'll end with our practice. So our practice is kind of twofold. We're using these two different parts. The first of which we started with at the beginning of our work, which is to identify emotion using body sensation awareness. Okay, so sometimes we know what we're feeling, right? Like sometimes it's super obvious of like, I'm really pissed off, or like, I feel so sad, whatever it is. But in the event that we either don't know how we feel, right? Like, has anyone ever been in that position of like, I'm feeling something, but I'm not sure what? Yeah. Okay. So the body sensation awareness is a tool that we use to get to that. But if you already know what you feel, you can go right to the next exercise. So identify emotion using body sensation awareness, which is what we did at the beginning, where we're tuning into body sensation. And then when we find sensation, we'll ask what emotion is attached to this, because usually there's something. Right? So what emotion is attached to this sensation? Okay, I have tension in my shoulders. What emotion is that? Okay, the tension in my shoulders is attached to the emotion of frustration that I feel about not getting this project done or whatever. Right? Or like, oh, this pain in my lower back, the emotion there is fatigue. It's like burnout. I feel really tired. I feel really sad about how tired I feel. Okay, so then noticing, using the body as a map to help us find the emotion. But if we already know what the emotion is, then go ahead and move on to this next part, which is called the 4-point. And this is something I've taught this as a practice, but then I found somebody who explained it really well. So it's sort of a hybrid of the way that I originally taught that, and then this other woman's practice. And her name is Linda Kohanov. She wrote a really cool book. She was written a lot of cool books. She does work with horses. The book that has this in it is The Power of the Herd, if you want to go check that out. So it's a little hybrid of that. But it's this 4-point method for moving emotion through the body. So the first, and she describes this because she does a lot of work with horses, she describes this as the response of a horse, right? So the first step is feel the emotion. Right? So in this case that she was using the example of fear, right? Like, okay, this pulse of fear moving through the herd, which means we see the lion or sense the lion. So number 1, feel the emotion. Oh my God, fear. Step 2, get the message behind the emotion. In this example, the message is, my life is in danger. Right? So number 1 is feel the emotion. Number 2 is get the message behind the emotion. Number 3 is change something in response to the message. In the case of the horse, run away, right? So see the lion, message is my life is in danger, action step is run away. And of course, this is all happening in a split second, right? And number 4 is release the emotion and move on. Meaning, does anyone have animals and like your dog gets scared or something and then they just shake, and then they're good? Right? They're releasing it out of the body. They're letting it go, and then they move on, and then they're like on with their day, right? So this is, in the horse sense, this is like shake it off and go back to grazing, right? Because the horses don't live in perpetual fear that, oh my God, there's a lion all the time, because there are lions sometimes, but not all the time. Horses are, there's this other book, speaking of fun books about animals, this one's called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, and it's by Robert Sapolsky. And that one I read for a class in college. This was years ago, talking about like chronic stress and the effects of chronic stress on the body. Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. Yeah, it's a pretty cool one. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do this practice. So I'm going to walk you through it. You don't need to look at your notes, but I wanted you to have that just so you could kind of have it in mind as we're going through. So let's go ahead and set everything aside. We're going to walk this through pretty briefly, but you can revisit, of course. Go ahead and close your eyes. Now let's just take a moment to arrive back in the body with a breath. Exhaling everything out. Deep inhale. And exhale with a sigh. Again, deep inhale. And exhale with a sigh. Beautiful. Now let's turn our awareness back to the body in terms of the sensations that we were feeling earlier. And just take a moment to notice, are they the same? Have they changed even during this hour? And when you find a sensation that is asking for your attention, go ahead and just offer it a nod of acknowledgement. I see you. Thank you for coming to my attention. And let's go ahead and pose a question to this sensation. And we're going to ask if there's an emotion that is attached to this sensation, and if so, what it is. And when you receive whatever answer is coming to you, go ahead and offer it a nod. If the answer was yes, there's an emotion attached, and you received what the emotion was, go ahead and offer acknowledgement for that. If the answer was no, there's no emotion here, then offer acknowledgement for that and move to another sensation to ask, is there an emotion attached here to this sensation? And if so, what is it? And when you have that emotion in your awareness, we're going to go ahead and just move through these stages in a very simple, graceful way. We're kind of dipping our toe in the water of how to engage with this. So let's acknowledge the emotion. Let's let it expand. Let it fill your awareness. Let yourself feel it completely. And invite it perhaps even to grow a little stronger, just so you can notice, what is the feeling of this emotion? What is it doing to my body? What is it bringing up in me? And when you feel as though you're feeling this emotion fully, let's go ahead and ask it, what message do you have for me? What are you here to tell me or show me? And trust whatever comes to you. Trust that this is exactly what you need to know. And offer a nod of acknowledgement and gratitude for this message. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now let's imagine if you received a clear message. Take a moment to just consider what it's applying to and what an action might be that you can take in order to follow through on the message of this emotion. And when you imagine that, go ahead and tune in again with the emotion and notice, is it the same? Is it stronger? Is it subsided? And let's go ahead and offer a bow of gratitude to the emotion for revealing itself to us. Another bow of gratitude to our bodies for creating a space for this practice. And a bow of gratitude to ourselves for taking the space and time for this work. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And let's gently bring all of that information back with us to our conscious awareness, to present time awareness. Wiggling our fingers and toes, rolling the neck, opening the eyes. And go ahead and make any notes you'd like. And I would also love if anyone has anything to share, go ahead and just unmute yourself. We're almost done. We're like right at 11. I want to make sure we finish on time. So go ahead and unmute if you'd like to share. Let us know what you got out of that. Edie, how'd that go for you?
Well, grief. It wasn't what a great rose earlier, but once I acknowledged and sat in this place and this grief came up, the message was all things change. There is no shame or blame.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. Right?
Love
and
that.
The action says, it's time to make offering and to use fire to write and to release it. Not necessarily dog medicine for this one, but offering. And what happened underneath it was I recognized that there's a lot of repressed grief that needs to be honored.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much, Edie, for sharing. I'm so excited for you to have that awareness and that experience.
Thank you,
let's go ahead and send Edie a love whoosh. Has everybody done the love whoosh with me before? You'll catch on really quickly. Okay, everybody put your hands on your heart. Take a deep breath. Whoosh. There you go, Edie. Yay, thank you. Yay.
Thank you. You're all so beautiful.
Welcome. You're welcome. Anyone else want to share? You'll get a love whoosh after. How, like thumbs up, like I got something really cool out of that, like so I'm sitting on it, or like let's talk later. Where are we at? Thumbs up. Awesome. Stacy, Sonia, thumbs up. Great. Emily says thumbs up. Tish, thumbs up. Cool. Okay. Beautiful. Well, everybody, great job today. I know we're ending like right on the dot. Thank you for showing up to do this work. I know that this can be uncomfortable. I know that this can be, fodder for self-doubt or inquiry, or like, why the heck am I exposing myself to this? Because it feels so thank you for doing that. I'm really grateful that you're here, and I'm so excited to be doing this work with you. Tish says, thank you. Awesome. Thank you, Tish. Okay, so if you're interested, I'm going to go ahead and take a minute, if that's okay. Is that okay? Kind of like give me a thumbs up or a yes, yeah, to invite you into something, and then at the end, I'll announce our giveaway. So the invitation that I have for you is that if you would like to do this work with support, then I do have a couple of spaces opened for new mentorship clients to come into my work. Now, this is people who are either current or aspiring practitioners, healers, whether you're doing this professionally or personally for yourself, people who have already had an intuitive awakening. I'm guessing here everybody has, because you're here, right? But you already had a spiritual awakening. You've already had some training or some initiatory experiences. And what I have found in my work is that the thing that is missing from your work, from your practice, is usually you. Now, this is something that in this mentorship work, I'm not teaching, I'm not giving you curriculum other than what is coming up in the natural course of our unfolding work together, but it's a chance for us to explore your own initiation cycles of your personal medicine. So within this work, we get to activate your personal medicine. We get to integrate your intuitive gifts, meaning coming into mastery, coming into full expression and honoring of your intuitive gifts. And we get to express your original medicine, meaning what is the vibration of your truest, most authentic self, and what do you need in order to live that in the world? Now, this mentorship work is for 6 months. And I am available to begin, by the end of May. So if that's something that you're interested in, let's go ahead and set up a time to talk. Again, this is for Lightworkers, whether you're doing this personally for you, or whether you're doing this as a practice or an aspiring practitioner, or you have an established practice. Coming into full mastery of your original medicine is what I see as one of the most important things that you can do for yourself and for your work and for your clients. So go ahead and when I send out the email, you'll be getting a follow-up email. There will be a link in there to book a time on my calendar if you want to talk. Now, if you do, then let's go ahead, and I highly, highly encourage you to book that time with me sometime within the next week to 10 days. My calendar books up really quickly. And if you just go ahead and put yourself on my calendar, I'll recognize your name because you were here. You can also reply to my email and say, like, let's talk ASAP, just to make sure that you get in this next cycle that I have, so we can jump into your journey together. So if that appeals to you, then go ahead and we'll book a no obligation time on my calendar. You do not have to start working with me, but it's a chance for us to get to know each other and look at your process. So thank you. Sound good? Yeah? Okay, awesome. So I'm going to plug in my random number generator right now. Give me just one moment and I will. Okay. All right, Edie, you are the lucky recipient of a free session today. So thank you for being here. And I know you've been on classes before, so that's awesome. For everyone else, you are totally welcome to, again, book that time to talk with me. It doesn't mean that we can't talk, right? I am available. So Edie, I will send you an email privately that will have a link to put yourself on my calendar to receive your session. For everybody else, if you want to talk about what it means to work together, then that's a way that we can engage as well. And for next month, our class next month is on Tuesday, June 18th. From 10 to 11 a.m. Pacific time, and we'll be talking about cycles of power. So that's something that I'm really excited about. It's something that it shows up in a lot of my work, and I love to delve into this. And since all of you are here live, you'll get the first dibs. There will be a link to register, and know that, again, live attendees, I'm offering this now where everyone is entered to win, and I'll announce it at the end of class with my random number generator, entered to win a free session with me, and then there's usually some other bonus going on. So since you're here live, you get the Emotional Alchemy table to delve even deeper into this work. So thank you so much. Edie says, oh my goodness, thank you. Yay, Edie, I'm so excited. I don't think we've ever actually had a proper conversation, so it'll be great to get to know you a little bit. Everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for sharing, and it's really fun. I just want to say, like, personal thank you. It is really fun for me to do this work, and I really enjoy hearing your takeaways. I enjoy hearing how you're applying this and what you're getting out of this. Emily says, thank you for your sweet time and attention today. I appreciate you and what you're doing in the world. Thank you, Emily. It's so nice to hear that. I'm really grateful to hear that. Thanks for being here. And everybody, I do hope to see you next month on the 18th, and look for that email from me later today. I've got like 3 classes going on today, so it's one after the other, but we'll talk to you later. Bye.